Hello, what's going on? Career Inclusive here with you, JP Miller from Career Inclusive, and we're talking about resume tips today. I want to give you some really good feedback on resumes and excellent advice on how to create an engaging resume. And what we're talking about today are typos, poor grammar, and other resume mistakes that kill recruiter engagement. So let's get into it. I see a lot of resumes every day. I look at tons of them, and you would think that faux pas wouldn't be as prevalent, but I see a lot of typos, see a lot of poor grammar in resumes and inconsistent punctuation. So you want to be sure that your resume is on top, on spot every time, that it looks great. There's no typos. The grammar is solid. Use a service like Grammarly, and that'll help you perfect your language. Another good practice is to get someone who cares about you and ask them to look at your resume. Ask them when they get bored looking at it. How far down the page do they get before they're just kind of glazing over the content? And that'll give you a good idea of when the resume is starting to get a little wordy and where you really need to start focusing your attention on revisions. Ask a friend to look at for typos and for poor grammar. At the end of every bullet point, be sure that there's a period so that you're certain that it's consistent throughout the entire document. Consistency shows organizational skills. Consistency indicates strong organization. An inconsistent resume tells a recruiter, indicates to a recruiter that maybe you're not organized, or maybe your work will be sloppy. Maybe your work won't be neat. Right? A resume that's difficult to read is going to go into the circular file. So the recruiter is going to associate that with a person who's difficult to work with. And so you want to be sure that your format is nice and clean, very solid format. And honestly, using a standard format in a resume, 9 times out of 10 is going to be the better option than creating your own very unique format. The only exception to this is for designers. So the designers that I'm talking to, you can be creative. You have some creative license with your resume. If you're going to be in creative work, advertising, marketing, some kind of digital creative, then you can show some creativity in your resume. I remember one of the first jobs that I applied to as a web developer was for a community college, and I was really excited about this opportunity. And I spent all night, like I was working on this resume all night. I had pretty graphics in the background. I had a gradient background on that that went from the feature the school colors. It's like I really worked on the cover letter, really worked on the resume. I was like up till like 4 o'clock in the morning working on this resume, just like making it as perfect as possible and really like very highly designed. And then they never called. And they never called. So like all of that work was just, and I never used that format again. So don't worry about the design so much. You can find a template online for free. You can do free resume templates. Find a site that'll allow you to download your resume without a lot of hassle, and then create a resume. Or just open a Word doc and create a single column format. I see a lot of 2-column resumes. They can be okay, but you should know that ATS has a difficult time reading 2-column resumes, at least for the time being. And so if you do send out 2-column resumes, you might consider A/B testing your resume. Send out a single column format. And by A/B testing your resume, you can track who you send the resumes to and then record who you get engagement from. If one version of the resume gets more engagement, whether that's positive or negative, that means someone has looked at it, then use that version that's doing better. And then you can further A/B test it. So A/B testing is a great way to check your format and check the language that you're using and see what version of yourself is getting more engagement with recruiters that you're interested in. Another faux pas I see a lot is that a lack of focus, trying to be everything to everyone. No, you want to be as focused as possible to show recruiters that you're highly focused and you're highly tuned in to the one thing that you do, the thing that you do better than anyone else. So be highly focused. In a summary statement, there's a tendency to ramble or to create like marketing speak. So we don't want marketing speak in the resume. Okay. Also, try to limit your resume to one page. Elon Musk has a one-page resume. If he can do it, we all can do it. And honestly, he doesn't really need a resume, does he? And if you're consistently branding yourself on LinkedIn, we'll talk about this in the future, and you're putting yourself out there, you're creating content, quite honestly, you don't need to use a resume all that much. People will seek you if you create a brand about yourself and you create content to let people know what you're about and what you can do for them, right? Employers hire based on what you can do for them. Show them what you can do for them. Rather than what is more common is what they can do for you. Yes, obviously you're going to get a paycheck and you want skills and you want to grow as a professional, but we don't need to necessarily state that in the resume and the summary statement. Because the employer is not looking for that. The employer is looking for someone who can knock off their socks, so to speak, and get the work done in a way that's effective and comes under budget and maybe even sooner, right? Under time. What else we got? Overuse of graphics can be a big killer. Photographs too. Want to put a photograph in your resume. There are a few exceptions to this. Now, my friends in Germany, and German employers like to see your photograph. I believe in Poland as well. So you do have some exceptions where these things are required. Another thing is personal details. Your personal details don't belong in a resume. Your date of birth, your marital status. I see this quite a bit. And don't put those things in. If it's required by law, then okay, it's required by law. But even then, me personally, I want to include that information. If you have the choice, don't include your date of birth. Don't include your marital status. The only thing the employer needs to know is that you can legally work in their country. Okay, so be direct in your summary statements. So quantified accomplishments in the bullet points, be direct in the bullet points, directly show what you did for previous employers or in past projects and portfolio projects. Quantify those accomplishments as much as possible and be concise. Recruiters are busy. All right, so keep that resume to one page, two at the very most. And that's really only if you have 10 years of experience. If you have a lot of experience to show within like a 5 or 6 year period, remove that which is not relevant. So the resume should be what is most relevant to the employer at hand, and do your best to focus. If you'll do the work up front to focus on the kind of work that you want to do and who you want to be as a professional and the type of industry and the subsector that you want to be in, then you will create stronger engagement because you'll be able to narrow your focus, you'll narrow your search. So rather than a spray and pray approach, you'll be highly focused on a few companies in specific industries. It'll be less stressful for you, and you'll be able to create a story that's very meaningful to those specific employers. Okay, this is day 2 of 60 Days of Value. We're going to be back tomorrow. So tomorrow will be the weekday, and I'll be live at 8:30 Central Standard Time every night this week. That's 6:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. And yeah, hope to see you. Nope, that's 9:30 Eastern. Got my time zones mixed up there. Time zones. And for my friends in Europe, GMT, I think that's -6 GMT. Okay. Be well.